Hello, Carrie Stevens here from DFS Group, and today I'm going to show you all around the new draft Sunshine Coast planning scheme. So to get started, let's go to the website, and here it is right at the top, Draft Sunshine Coast Planning Scheme. We're going to click on here, which takes us through to a dedicated page where we can either look at the text or the planning scheme maps. Now there's no interactive map yet, but I understand that's coming in the next few weeks, so we'll hang out until that arrives. But in the meantime, let's go and have a look at the maps. Now the reason I want to take you to the maps first is because almost every single zone is changing. The name of the zone changes, so let's for a start just go and have a look at Maroochydore and Coolouin, and it brings up a whole heap of maps that are relevant to that particular area. So you can see there's the zone map, a local plan map, a local plan elements map, and then there's all the constraints mapping everything from acid sulfate soils to biodiversity to biting midges and mosquitoes right down to flood hazards, and the list goes on and on. So we really need to check every single one of these maps to see whether or not the land is impacted upon. But let's open up this zone map for a start, because that's really what we're interested in. So here's our zone map. Beautiful looking map. The one thing I want to draw your attention to is over here in the right hand side, all the names of the zones have changed. So if you were in Maroochy Plan previously and you were in the mixed housing zone, you will now find you're in this lovely pink medium density residential zone in most of the cases. So if you look at the zones, basically all of the blue colours are commercial type zones, all of the pinks and reds are residential type zones, greens are obviously open space and environmental, and yellow is pretty much a community facility zone. The next thing we're going to do is find out the definition, and the reason that this is really important is because almost every single definition has changed. Now you'll find all the definitions here in Schedule 1, and I've taken you straight to the dual occupancy definition. Now the actual name dual occupancy has not changed because it's always been called that, but what has changed is this information in here which describes what a dual occupancy is. So let's see, it's a premises containing two dwellings on one lot, whether or not attached. Now this is pretty important because if you were in previously the Maroochy Plan area, a duplex had to have a common wall, so that's no longer the case. So that's a big improvement in my opinion. So for whatever you've got in mind for your land, check the definition and make sure that it covers exactly what you need it to cover, and that it's not overly restrictive or anything else that's going to cause you problems down the track. The next thing we're going to check is the level of assessment, which you'll find here in Part 5. And just for fun, we'll go to the medium density residential zone levels of assessment. So I've highlighted multiple dwelling here, which you can see is code assessable within the zone, and it's subject to a whole heap of codes here, such as the medium density residential zone code, the local plan code, the multi-unit residential uses code, etc, etc, etc. So it's pretty important to check each one of those codes, because sometimes the level of assessment can vary according to a code or an overlay or something like that. So just because it says code assessable here is not necessarily the be all and the end all as far as the level of assessment is concerned. So that was a very quick overview of what essentially is a complicated document. For those of you who thought this new planning scheme might simplify matters and make a nice, concise and small planning scheme, it is certainly not like that at all. There's plenty of information in there, and it's still a pretty cumbersome document that takes a fair bit of effort to get through. I need to make the point that this is a draft planning scheme and it's for public comment, so the existing three schemes of Caloundra, Noosa and Maroochy are all still in effect. This is an opportunity for you to have your say. Now, you can have a look at all the planning scheme documentation yourself, or if you need to, you can get some help or advice. We would love to help you. We're offering a snapshot comparison, which is basically a table which shows you what you can do under the existing planning scheme as opposed to what you can do under the proposed new planning scheme. We can help you make a submission, but please keep in mind submissions must be lodged before the 14th of December, and Council are required to consider all of those submissions and decide whether or not changes will be made to the planning scheme document. This has been Carrie Stevens from DFS Group, signing off until next time.